of those years, I have been on the Employee Relations Committee. Last few years, I have been an officer on that committee. The past 2 years, we have worked on the bylaws for the Staff Senate, and we hope you'll join us in making the staff's collective voice stronger and more impactful on our campus.
And then next. So this keeps going on, but hi everybody, I'm Susan Lavenby, and I am over WTC, our NPR station here on campus. I am the former chair for the Exempt Staff Council, and I wrote this down so I don't talk too much, so we have to keep it short. So I'm the past president of the Employee Relations Committee, which formerly represented the exempt staff on campus. During that time, I worked in practice with Melita and our co-chairs for the staff senate model that will combine efforts and representation for exempt and non-exempt staff on campus. I'm looking forward to contributing during the next year as president ex officio. I'm available as a resource both to the Senate and to you all. Your voice is important. If you have feedback, suggestions, or just want to chat, I'm available for coffee, walks, meetings, whatever you want. Just feel free to reach out to me at any point. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you for coming virtually also.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Carrie Sherberson. I'm the Director of Organization. I've been a staff member for 20 years here at the city, and I'm excited to serve on Staff Senate. I have not been involved with EAC or ERC in the past, so I'm kind of a fresh face in that avenue. But I'm excited to serve. I've always admired the Faculty Senate and the collective voice that they have had, so I was really encouraged and excited to see that we now have a Staff Senate at UTC. So I hope to serve all of our staff members at UTC well. Thank you.
Hello, yeah, I'm Rebecca Tribune in the Registrar's Office. I'll be serving as your secretary. I'm excited to serve you in this way. And while you already get emails from me for student announcements, that'll be on higher of my Staff Senate emails, but I'm confident you have my contact information should you need anything from me. Look forward to this year.
Hi, good morning. I'm Mary Lynn King. I currently work in Auxiliary Services as associate director. I've been with UTC for the past 9.5 years in both an exempt and a non-exempt position. And I have 3 years of experience as an elected representative on the exempt staff council. I'll be serving at this role this year as vice president of staff council. I am very passionate about fostering collaboration and advocating for the equitable treatment of all staff. I see this new Staff Senate as a unique opportunity to build unified voice through the merger of exempt and non-exempt representation. I'm excited to help shape this new chapter in staff leadership at UTC, and I look forward to working with all of you.
And now back to me. My name is Joel Wells. I came to UTC 6 years ago to be the university registrar. Registrars are generally good at developing processes, identifying procedures, and managing development that improves access. I believe those are all skills and traits that will help me serve as the Staff Senate President this year. And I'm looking forward to building on the good work that Susan and Melita and our other colleagues in prior versions of staff representation have built for us. I'm excited. We've been meeting as an executive team for the last several weeks. There's a lot of energy and there is a lot of enthusiasm for being a voice on behalf of the staff at UTC. So that was our first one-time item. Our second one-time item is for me to give you a little sense of what is Staff Senate. So I am not going to read all of the words on the screen, but you are welcome to read them if you can. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we are trying to develop. As others have said, the Staff Senate is a combined body that represents hourly and salaried employees. Combining these together will give us an opportunity to have representation that is on par with Faculty Senate The faculty have met together as a collective body for a lot of years. I haven't looked it up, but it's a long time. And so now the other part of the employee groups of UTC will be able to add our voice to advocating with leadership and ensure that our voice is heard. Notice that I did not say grievances or interpersonal conflict between coworkers or conflict between a staff member and a supervisor. We can direct you to processes that are related to those issues, but our work is focused on challenges and opportunities that affect many, most, or all of us. That is the power of having a collective voice. It's also important to realize that we can bring ideas. It's not hard to slide into grumbling. I do it myself. But I try to catch myself before I grumble too long and say, what can I do about this? There are opportunities for us to make recommendations for how life for staff can be better. And if you are a recipient of grumbling, you know that it's not fun to hear all the time. And it is often more enjoyable for people to bring ideas and opportunities and solutions forward so that it's in line with what people who are doing the work are expecting to help them work better. Now, on the Staff Senate. You will see on the next two slides why Joel is not a graphic designer and he is a registrar. The Staff Senate is composed of 6 committees that are permanent standing committees. The Executive Committee just introduced themselves to you. There is one other committee that is currently in action, and that is the ERC, the Employee Relations Committee. That committee will continue to function and represent hourly staff. They are conducting elections right now, and we will announce who the representatives for the ERC are, as well as the chair and chair-elect once those are identified. The other committees don't exist yet. Many of you have contacted us to say you're interested in being on a committee. We're developing what that looks like, and we ask for your patience as we work on building the structure in this first year. We may have time to say a little bit more about the specifics of those committees later, but I wanted to spend a few minutes giving you a sense of what's motivating us in this first year. In this first year, we're going to focus on 3 values. Our first value is competence. It is important for us to earn the trust that you have placed in us by electing us to lead Staff Senate. We will do that by showing up, doing the work, holding each other accountable on the Executive Committee, and inviting you to hold us accountable. Our next value is clarity. It's hard to know what's going on if people are unclear in their communication. I have a really good capacity for using a lot of words and still being unclear. So that is one reason I identified clarity as an important value for us. There are going to be items that we will address this year, and we will identify those for you. And there will maybe some items that we aren't able to address this year, and we'll let you know that. Some items we address may take a long time. And so rather than just saying, yes, we're working on it, we'll try to give you a timeline of what is realistic for when you will hear updates about what's going on there. Again, trying to provide clarity for you all so that you know what to expect. And our last value is community. We are all a wide range of different humans. Some humans enjoy showing up to work, doing good work, going home, and not thinking about work again until the next morning. Other humans enjoy building community and relationships with their coworkers. We will work this year to provide opportunities for people to build community and build relationships with other staff members. It's easy to build relationships with folks you work closely with all the time, but giving opportunities for people to intersect with individuals across campus will allow ideas to flourish and conversations to happen that may not otherwise happen. We're learning as we go. We will make mistakes, but we will do our best. And I think I speak for all of the executive committee when I say we are committed to doing good work on your behalf. So that's a high-level overview of Staff Senate. Does anyone have a couple of questions about Staff Senate? Great. I was completely clear then. All right. I think the real reason all of you came today is because we have an opportunity to hear from our new boss. Chancellor Bruce has agreed to come and provide a report for us. And so now I will invite her to come and share what she has to share.
So I can easily stand up. I sit in meetings. I really don't have a formal report. I've been on the job less than 2 weeks, so I don't have a lot to report other than I'm going on a listening tour, right? I've been listening to lots of people and I plan to do that for the next couple of months. To really learn as much as I can about the university, about your experiences at the university, what your aspirations are for the university. Before, diving in and making some big vision statements and long-term strategic goals. So I really look forward to meeting you and getting to know you and hearing from you personally, about what you would like to see in the next coming years at the university. Some of my first observations are, I would say, just the vibe of campus. Of course, it's hard to tell in the summer because it's kind of quiet and lots of people, and I came in right around July 4th, right when most people are taking their vacation. But I would say my personal experience so far has been that campus is very, very warm and welcoming. And I've tried to be incognito a few times to make sure that warm and welcoming wasn't just for me, that it's for everyone. And so as I've kind of traveled around, walked around with a baseball cap on and my joggers on and nobody really knew it was me, I'm happy to say that I really saw that same kind of spirit, even when people didn't know it was me walking around. So warm and welcoming, and every time I talk to someone, they talk about the students. What are we gonna do for the students? What about the students? And I think that's key to the university's just overall success, is we need to stay student focused. We need to stay focused on what's the student experience and how do we help the students be successful. And as long as we stay focused on that and our motives are in the right place, of course, we'll have bumps in the road and hiccups and missteps. And sometimes it might feel like we're taking 1 step forward, 2 steps back sometimes. But as long as we have the right motivation and it's about building the right experience for the students and helping them be successful, then I think we'll all be moving in the right direction, at least. And you'll hear me talk a lot about student enrollment and enrollment growth. And a lot of that is because I believe in the products that we have. I believe in the power of education. I saw that firsthand in my own family. If you don't know much about me, I grew up on a farm, in Middle Tennessee. Neither of my parents went to college, out of high school, they went straight into factories to work. And only when I was probably about 11 or 12, my mom said, I'm gonna go to college. And she and her sister went together. And they commuted, and really during those kind of formative years of my tween and early teen years, I really saw my mom being passionate about education, driving an hour and a half each way every day, studying late into the night. There were times 5 kids in the house, running a farm, and I don't think she ever missed class. I think, she put her all into it, and I saw the trajectory of my entire family change because of that. So I am a big believer in the power of education. I'm a big believer in access to education, that it's something that should be accessible for everyone. And we need to do a good job of making it accessible. And I believe in helping the students, meeting them where they are and helping them be successful. And so when you hear me talk about student enrollment, I don't want you to think I'm chasing a number, thinking about revenues, even though I'm fiscally responsible. Okay, I'm a good steward of the students' tuition dollars and the taxpayer dollars that fund us and the donor dollars, but that's not what it's about. It's about, I believe in the power of education, and I want everybody, and I believe in UTC's product. Like, as I review our academic programs and what we have to offer students, I really believe in it, and I want as many people to have access to that as possible. And so when you hear me talking about student enrollment, that's what's driving. It's not some magic number I'm trying to reach. It's about trying to make sure we are welcoming and inviting and open, and people believe in our product and want to come here to get their education. So, I will tell you a little bit about just my core values. I think as a leader, one of my core values obviously is integrity. And I've gone over this already with my leadership team, my immediate leadership team, that, I believe you do behind closed doors, what you do out in public. You have integrity, and we do the right thing when nobody's looking. And I believe in transparency and honesty. Sometimes I'm honest to a fault. Sometimes I'm transparent to a fault. I'm very trusting of people. And so I believe in, integrity, honesty, transparency, collaboration. I believe in the power of diversity of thought. That we kind of get in an echo chamber, and I just get with people that just think just like me. We really don't make it very far. We don't get to a good optimal solution to whatever it is we're trying to do. And so I really believe in the power of collective wisdom. And that's one reason I'm excited that we have a staff senate, because I think that's an important part of shared governance. I need to hear from you. I need to hear what you're thinking and your ideas and your views on things in order to make good decisions. So I really believe in that. That's a core part of who I am and what drives me. And I believe in ownership. One of the last, I would say, the final core values I talked about with my team was ownership. We own our destiny. We own who we are. We own our decisions. We own our role, and we don't slough our work off on other people. We have ownership of what our role is, and we believe that we can create our destiny. We can create a positive path forward. And no matter what life throws at you, you can find a positive way forward. I fun saying I made up years ago, because I heard people say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And I used to say, well, when life gives me lemons, I like the air. And so, that's okay to understand that. But I do believe in the power of positive can-do spirit, because life's always going to give us bumps. There's always going to be challenges. It's how we approach it. And do we have a can-do positive attitude, and then get to work, not just talk about it, but actually work. So I just wanted to share that with you. I don't really have a big university report. I wanted to spend the time introducing myself to you, telling you a little bit about my background and my core values. I think you had questions for me. Are you wanting to do those or you wanting to do those later?
So. Hold on. There we go. I'm going to invite you to come back for a Q&A session.
Okay,
We have some time conflicts here, and I'm going to have to juggle people around.
okay,
I will get you out of here.
okay.
Well, actually. Chancellor Bruce?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and have a conversation. Sorry. I am a reflective processor, so it took me a minute to get to that decision. So today we're going to have the first of campus conversations, and Chancellor Bruce is our first guest for campus conversations. We also have Dr. Victoria Bryan, the director of the Walker Center for Teaching and Learning here, to ask some prepared questions, which will be followed by questions from you all. So take it away.
Thank you for being here in this conversation. Dr. Bruce, a recent interview write-up summarized your perspective by saying, believe, quote, one of the university's most important responsibilities is preparing students to it. So are there ways that you think that that responsibility could apply to employees as well? And if so, what would that look like? And if not, why not?
Okay, so if I understand the question, are you asking that we have a responsibility to help employees adapt? Or employees have a responsibility to help students adapt?
Joel, tell me if I'm wrong. Second?
Either one.
Either one. Great.
Okay, I do believe in being, flexible and learning. And, I think it would be a crying shame if we worked at an institute of higher education and we didn't focus on educating ourselves as well as others, right? And so that might mean learning new skills. I'm a big advocate for professional development for employees, and I championed that at my last university. And I'm just a believer in always learning and growing and adapting, because the world's changing around us. And if we're not keeping up, then we're kind of getting left behind. And so, I do think that each of us play a role in helping the students just be in that mindset. But I think the question is probably more about, am I a believer in that there's a responsibility of the institution to help employees adapt to the changing world? And so I do believe in professional development. I would say one of the things that I really championed at my last university, to give you an example, was supervisor training and training around performance evaluations. And I just know when I stepped into a supervisory role for the first time, and the first time it was a formal supervisory role where I had to do a performance evaluation of people in my team. Oh my gosh, talk about awkward. And it's a challenge. And so there's things that we need training in order to be able to do that effectively, and to be able to do that well, and to be able to give kind of honest feedback, but in a kind way, and encouraging, and not saving it all up to the annual performance evaluation and blah, it all comes out, right? Being in a continuous, improvement mode. And so I really championed that at my last university, because we didn't have anything like that for employees, faculty or staff. And so a lot of times, as y'all know, if you're really good at one thing, we put you in charge of something else. And so all of a sudden you find yourself in some kind of supervisory role without having planned to get there. And so I do believe in kind of professional development and having training for employees, whether we do that in-house or we bring in somebody to do it, or we actually send people to meetings and conferences to learn how to do things. So it could be, hey, we're gonna, as we become a little bit more research active. I'm sure there's a lot of financial managers and budget managers and offices are saying, okay, well now we're starting to have little grants and those kinds of things. So having training, so as we're kind of growing as a university, making sure we're growing our people in that same direction.
Great, I love to hear. So it's clear that the UTC community is excited to welcome you to campus. And we're all in a season where we're trying to figure each other out, right? So, how do you approach earning trust in a new work setting, and how do you know when you are trusted?
I don't really have some strategic plan to earn trust. I just try to be trustworthy. And over time, people learn that about you. So to me, you earn trust by being trustworthy. And a big part of that is what I was talking about, those core values of, doing the right thing even when no one's looking, because if you don't, number one, that's just part of who I am, but I've learned over the years, if you don't, it always comes back. Truth comes to light, always, right? Truth comes to light at some point. It might take a while, but truth always comes to light. And so just being honest and trustworthy and having integrity, and over time, people learn who are working with you and around you notice that, and they learn that about you. And so I think that's how you earn trust, is just be worthy of that trust.
Great. All right, so the third and last of our prepared questions. You may not know that you were hired by the old university, the Chancellor Time Machine. So you can use it one time to travel 5 years into the future and then come back to us here in 2025. What would you most want to witness at future UTC when you go to World War Time?
I would want to see, first of all, I want to see a campus where there's active student engagement, there's, growing enrollment, partly because I'm competitive. And everybody wants to be on a winning team. And so when things are kind of on a growth mode, things are upbeat, things are moving in the right direction. You have to be careful, because if you grow enough, you've got to reinvest back into infrastructure. You can't just think that you can do, you can grow substantially and not have more employees, have more infrastructure to support that. But everybody wants to be on a winning team. And so I would hope that we would be kind of in a growth mode, and our giving, our donation, our donor giving, our research funding, our student enrollment. I don't have some magic point that we'd be at, but that we would just be moving in a positive direction. And the other thing I would say, I think this is a lofty goal. I don't know that it's achievable in 5 years, but one of the things that I really want at any place I lead is I want to have great people that other employers, other universities, other employers in town are trying to steal our people. Right? They're trying to steal you because you're so good. But at the same time, I want it to be a place that no one ever wants to leave because it's a great place to work. And so to me, that's like the nirvana, right? Is to get to a place where our people are so great, everybody's trying to steal them, but they never want to leave.
So thank you so much for taking the time for these prepared questions. Joel, are we?
We have time for some questions. Does anyone have questions for the Chancellor? Hand in the back.
Let's see.
There are people online, so they might need to.
Get my steps in.
All right, is this better?
Yes.
All right, great. My name is Tyler. I'm an academic advisor in the hub. I actually recently new hire as well, so just started in June. My question is a little bit more about kind of the federal implications that might be rolled up against. I'm wondering if you have any projections or plan of action for DACA recipients or previous DACA recipients, or any demographics or that may be impacted by new federal laws and how we're going to be thinking about enrollment and funding for those particular students and cohorts.
Thankfully, we've not been too affected. As my understanding, is that we've not been significantly impacted with our grants and our funding that do fund graduate students and postdocs and research scientists and engineers, right? My understanding is we haven't been too impacted by that. One thing that I think is really important, because whether the federal government has executive orders or there's, changes in the staffing levels of different agencies or the funding, external funding for research. And this, I can say this having been a faculty member who was a PI on many research grants and then a research administrator for a number of years. That funding is never 100% secure. Funding comes and goes. And so for that research funding, right? And so you might write a grant, you get 4 years of funding, and then you have a year with a gap in funding, then you write another grant and you get some more funding. And students' dissertations are not perfectly aligned with your funding cycles. And so I think it's important to have as a priority for our advancement team, our fundraising team, is to have graduate student fellowships. So just like we really fundraise hard for undergraduate scholarships, I think it's important to have some funding for graduate students so that that can be kind of bridge funding when we go into times that are more lean than others. So I've already actually talked to our vice chancellor for advancement about some of those funding, fundraising priorities, and said we need to give graduate students stability when they come here to work on a grant. So we've already been having that conversation.
Engineering, housing, student support, here at the College of Engineering and Computer Science. I was wondering, what are all of the things that you hope a student gets out of their experience at UTC?
So as I understood the question, what are the things I want students to get out of their experience at UTC? I'm a faculty member at heart, so of course the academics are the heart of why they're here. It's, I would want to know that they're getting relevant, current curriculum for whatever their major is, and that we're keeping our curriculum fresh and up to date as those industries change. And so the content that they learn in their degree program is really important. But the non-content degree things that they learn, so things like being able to think critically and to problem solve, being able to communicate persuasively, being able to work in a team, being able to have tenacity, have grit, don't just give up when things get hard. Those kind of skills that are if you read about them, some places call them durable skills. Some people call them soft skills, but I call them translational skills, because it doesn't matter what career we go into. Every single person in this room, you all have different roles. And I guarantee you, everything I just listed is really important for you to be successful in your role. And so those are kind of, it's a balance. It's the content that they learn, but then all of the other kind of translational skills that they learn. And I want every student when they graduate to look back fondly at their time here, right? We weren't barriers to their success. We were facilitators of their success. And sometimes that's just operational, right? It's how they register for classes. So it's looking at how we run, how the registrar's office runs that. It's how we schedule classes. Are we scheduling classes at the time of day that's good for them or good for us? I want a student when they graduate to look back and say that we were the facilitators of their success. And then they have that balance of content knowledge and then all the outside of the classroom and inside of the classroom stuff that they did, that they really gained all those other skills.
You mentioned about collaboration as one of your core values. And my question is regarding sorry. How do we envision the interdepartmental or interdisciplinary collaboration contributing to the university's overall strategic goals?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, none of us live in isolation and our offices are not siloed. And so, let's make up something like the travel office that reimburses people of their travel. That affects everybody that travels, right? So it's not in isolation. It's the registrar's office affects how we manage our classes and our classroom space, and that affects every department on campus. So I think that, if we have units, departments, offices that are collaborating with each other, then you're looking at kind of the collective solution rather than whatever's right for this small group. And so we're doing the right thing that's kind of for the good of the whole. And no one office is going to have all the resources and all the know-how to do something. So we need to be able to collaborate with each other and understand that the student is our number one customer. If we think about customer service, and it might not be popular to talk about a student as a customer, but they come in as our customer and then they leave as our product. And so if we think about them and we put them first, and we have a customer service mindset, then they're our primary customer, but then each other is the secondary customer. We're customers to each other. So every office on campus needs to have a customer service mindset toward each other. So our student is our first customer, but we're customers of each other. And so if we have that same mindset toward each other, then we'll go a lot farther and it'll be a lot more enjoyable along the way.
Thank you so much.
I think we have,
So we do have one question on Zoom.
I think that should be our last question.
Mark Dot. Mark said, for Chancellor Bruce, how will you ensure a diverse and inclusive environment for students, faculty, and staff?
How will I ensure a diverse environment, an inclusive environment for our students, faculty, and staff? Well, we are an EEO employer after all. And so by nature, we have to take that into account when we're hiring. And but I would say what's more important to me, do we have a welcoming environment? Do we have an environment where every student, every employee knows that they matter, their voice matters, and that we have an environment that facilitates everyone's success? And that will naturally draw a diversity of people to us. And so I just think that what's really important is the culture that we create. And are we creating and fostering a culture where everybody feels welcome on this campus, where everybody feels valued and heard, and everybody has a pathway to success? That's the most important thing. And then we will naturally be diverse and inclusive when we do that. I'm sorry, I'm looking back at you because you read the question.
Thank you, Dr. Bruce.
You guys, thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Bryan, for hosting. It's good to hear from our chancellor and get a better sense of her vision for where we're going and where we can go. Up next is an administrative report from Provost Hale.
Thank you. And Mr. President, Mr. Registrar, I'm sorry I got your heart rate up this morning. It's double booked and so scooted over when I could. Hope I didn't make you too nervous, wondering where the heck it was. It's good to see everybody and I hope your summer is going well. I hope your work is going well, but at the same time, at a point in time when we have a few fewer people on campus, I hope you're also getting a chance to recharge batteries and prepare for what's going to happen in about a month or so when things start getting crazy again. I was really encouraged to hear Chancellor Bruce talk about the importance of wanting people to try to steal all of our fun employees away and try to find ways to keep them, because what I'm primarily going to talk with you about today are some successful attempts to steal some of our employees away in academic affairs and my unsuccessful attempts to keep them here. And honestly, because of the opportunities that they had, I did not try very hard in order to keep them. I think most of you know that in the last year, Matt Matthews left academic affairs and UTC to take a similar role, but a system-wide role, doing much of the same work across the 5 system campuses. And that left us with a gap that we tried to fill just by filling in around with some of the duties that Matt had been performing. And then I hope you all saw the announcement in the last month or so about Juan Howard Baptiste accepting the position to be the provost and senior academic officer at Berea College in Kentucky. My general approach to such things is that if working with me or for me is a dead end for someone, it means that I've not done my job very well. What I want to do is to create opportunities so that everyone who works with me can excel and can expand their portfolios and their horizons. If not at UTC, then somewhere else. And in that same vein, Christy Waldrop, who was my administrative assistant for a long time, had an outstanding opportunity, I think, to join the chancellor's office from the provost's office. And so Christy has shifted over there. So this will be a summer of transition, not just for the campus, but certainly for academic affairs. And I want to give you some updates on where we are with those transitions and what I see happening and what I know right now and what I don't know right now. What I know right now, I think, and I'm going to turn and look at Joel in case I get any of this wrong, is that in trying to find a replacement for the administrative assistant's role in academic affairs, they are doing Zoom interviews with 4 or 5 candidates this week. And we hope to then have candidates to campus in a short time following so that we can have an assistant in place in the provost's office and help with what we do well in advance of the start of the new school year. Christy may not look like it, but she has big shoes to fill. I am confident that the search committee, which is a really great search committee, is going to bring forward candidates who can do the job. And it's just going to be a matter of working through the learning curve at the beginning and helping that happen. With regard to the absent vice chancellors, vice provosts, what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for the 9-month faculty to return. Most certainly, those people are going to need to be faculty members currently or people who have held tenured or tenure track, at least faculty roles, and I hope tenured faculty roles. Most of them are not 12-month employees, most of them are 9-month employees. And so I didn't want to begin a search process and begin reorganizing academic affairs. Well, the vast majority of our faculty were off campus for the summer. Many of whom are not looking at email, nor should it be necessarily. And so that will take place very early at the beginning of the start of the fall semester. I have not yet decided whether we will be searching for 1 or 2 vice provosts. It depends on how we decide to divide the work up and whether or not I think adding 1 more person can get the job done. I think Shawani and Lauren and certainly Joel was very helpful in that process. And Ethan Carver, our associate provost and dean of the graduate school, and trying to take up the slack that was left behind when Matt Matthews left campus. I'm not sure we did it as well as we needed to. And so I'm still rethinking that possibility. So look for a lot of transitions from us. I think it's an exciting time. I think there are opportunities for faculty members on campus and certainly for staff members to interface with those people and to build strong relationships with the folks in academic affairs. And I look forward to being able to do that. Are there other issues that you would like me to address before I just throw it open to questions? We are still laser focused on the calendar changes that were announced, and one of the things that will require, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's a little bit of construction fencing up around campus. And what that's done is take a number of our classrooms offline and some things like that. And what that's going to require for us in the upcoming year, that will be another thing that many staff members and faculty members on campus have to deal with and help us navigate and deal with, is it does mean that we're going to have some aggressive scheduling across the entire daily academic calendar, and not simply between the hours of, say, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock or 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock. If we're going to be able to schedule all of the classes that we're going to need to schedule, we're going to have to schedule further into the evening, and we're going to have to schedule more classes during non-prime time hours than we had to do previously. And I hope you will embrace that culture change for our campus. This is the only campus that I've ever worked on, and many of you know that I've worked on a handful where most of our classes stop in the middle of the afternoon, and there are only a handful that are taught in the evenings. Most other places where I've been, the classes extend and are taught up until about 10 o'clock in the evening. And we may have to move to something similar in order to meet the demand, especially until some of our classroom buildings come back online and some of the construction fencing goes down. So I hope that you'll bear with us and that you will cooperate with the registrar's team and registrar's office as we sort of go through those changes. I think in the main, those changes are going to be really good changes. That is, the calendar changes for the campus. It will make the period between the fall and spring semesters, I think, a bit more restful and a lot less hectic for staff members and for faculty members, even though staff members will be working for a greater period of that time than faculty members are. I think we can agree that somehow when the campus empties out, it's a little bit easier, a little bit less hectic in terms of getting our work done. So that's the other thing that I wanted you to know. So far, there have been no changes beyond the ones that were announced with regard to the calendar changes, and that's going to necessitate some class scheduling changes for us as well. Let me stop there and answer the questions that people have.
Any questions for the provost?
beforehand, I actually have a question, Dr. Hale. As you guys think about extending the class schedule later in the evenings or at other times, are you working with campus resource offices to make sure that like food and other resources will be available to students? I know like the dining hall closes pretty early for people that have night classes. Sometimes it's hard to get food before or after classes. So are you guys coordinating that with those auxiliary offices as well?
That's a good question, and those are conversations that are still in progress. I will tell you, it's not the healthiest fare, but in most of the places where I've worked when that's happened, it's been the vending machines that have taken up the slack for the most part. If we can extend dining hours at some of the campus facilities, though, that's certainly something that I'll ask Vice Chancellor Goldberg and our colleagues at Aramark to have a discussion with me about, but I don't know what the answer is to that.
Okay, we'll do with that.
Thank you. I was looking around for Brett, he's on vacation, but the guy who deals with auxiliary services is here.
Oh, that's a great point, great question. Just to clarify, the dining services on campus still remain open late in the evening time to accommodate not only classes in the evening time, but also residents and students who live on campus. So our crossroads, our main dining facility stays open till 11 p.m. Each night of the semester, and then other UC dining hours shift, but I believe they stay open until relatively about 9 or 10 p.m. Probably 9 p.m. But there is late night options as well in residential halls.
Some of you know that I'm a huge fan of the soft serve ice cream machine in Crossroads. But I confess, I have never used it at 11 p.m. Those late nights when I'm still in the office, I'll cruise over for some ice cream.
Okay.
Well, as often happens, I've left another room completely speechless.
Well done.
So I will give the microphone back.
You just got a preview of our next speaker. Our next administrative report is from Associate Vice Chancellor Herbisman.
Morning, everybody. First off, just let me say, Vice Chancellor Goldberg apologizes for not being able to be here. He's on vacation with his family. It's well, but he apologized for not being able to be here. So thank you for letting me address the newly formed Staff Senate today. A couple of weeks ago, we hosted the UT Board of Trustees meeting here on campus on June 30th. And one of the biggest things that the board does at the June meeting is approve each of the campuses budgets going forward for the next fiscal year. So I just wanted to share a couple highlights of what happened there. I realize it's still before lunchtime, so I promise not to bore you too much with numbers and percentages because it's way before that time. But largely, so the board successfully approved our unrestricted operating budget of $263 million for the university. That consists of our both our E&G and auxiliary budgets. The revenue makeup of that budget consisted of 33% student or state appropriations. About 53% is tuition and mandatory fees makeup, and then 11% as auxiliary services. How we spend that money is 65% is spent on salaries and benefits for all of our employees. And then we have 25% of operating costs and 10% of scholarships making up of our grant and aids, graduate assistantships, fellowships, and our institutional scholarships. Of that 263 total budget that was passed, we've had new revenue that was approved. The new revenue approved from the state appropriations was total about $1.5 million in total. And then we had about $5.6 million in new student tuition and fees that were approved. 3% tuition and mandatory fee increase, and then a 4% auxiliary increase of our fees for auxiliary services. That made up a total of $7.1 million for us to allocate out during our budget process. So throughout our budget process, we had a very successful budget process year. It always comes with challenges and good discussions that are made, but our Chancellor, Vice Chancellor Goldberg, and other executive team members felt very strongly that we needed to make a very large investment into compensation for this next year. So they did that by proposing and approving a $5.7 million investment pool for compensation next year. This consists of a 2.5% market across the board increases beginning this month in July. And then they also set aside a market equity and compression adjustments for both faculty and staff, $2.3 million, very substantial compared to previous years. And then we have our standard faculty promotions and rollovers adjustments that we have to make on an annual basis. That this year came to about $400,000. So all those added up included the $5.7 million investment. As we look over, part of the reasoning for making such a strong investment in the compensation pool this past year has been a real push to create a baseline of all of our budgets and salary budgets, compensation across the board. Let's take a step back and look 4 years of what we've invested total into, 5 years, we've invested total in compensation. It's been about a little over $20 million, very substantial. And so by doing this, making this very large investment this next year, the Vice Chancellor Goldberg and the executive team feel very strongly we're creating a baseline of our new salaries going forward with the university. The other allocations after the $5.7 million is invested up to the total 7.1. We also have to increase our scholarships anytime we increase our tuition and fees. We have to increase our scholarship budget to accommodate those students as well. We have to pay the UT system charge each year, and then we also pay the award. I forgot about that one. I'll have to get back to it. But we had a very successful budget process this year. It went very well. We remained financially healthy. 2 more items that I just wanted to note, staff related. We have 2 adjustments in staff benefits this past year that were one was a little bit surprised. So I wanted to share that during the DAF transition, the UT payroll office had to do some reprogramming of the payroll codes. And in doing so, they're looking at payroll deductions. And specifically, the working payroll deduction for faculty and staff, they just announced last period, they now transitioned to the payroll parking deduction to be transitioned from a post-tax to a pre-tax code, which essentially means that now your payroll parking deduction will be reduced by your gross pay before ever being taxed. So this is a benefit that was kind of unexpected, even from us. They share it to us and they rolled it out to everybody. And secondly is a adjustment we made to faculty and staff meal plans. I'm not sure if you've gone out and looked at the faculty and staff meal plans. I highly encourage you to if you have not done so. They're great value. We have a variety. There's a couple different meal plans options you could choose out there. But essentially it breaks down the meal plans to about an average of between $7 to $8 per meal, which in this day and age, you go to a drive-thru, you're spending $10 to $12 just for a meal. So it's a great value. But the big the change that we did was historically all those meal plans during the summertime, if they weren't used, they expired, and you had to start fresh during the fall. And working with our partners at Aramark, We were able to collaborate, and now all of the plans will just continuously roll over from year to year. So again, if you don't have a faculty staff meal plan, I encourage you to go out to the website and look into it for yourself. It's of great value. Mr. President, I believe that's all I have for my administrative report today, but thank you for having me, and I'd like any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
Top of your personal concern.
And let me make a quick clarification. That is the meal plan will roll over faculty staff only, not for students.
Hi, I was hoping you could give an update on the plan to address the compression after it was the minimum wage a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So as you mentioned, about 2 or 3 years ago, we moved to the minimum wage of $50 an hour. Of course, we knew, expected that to kind of create a pricing issue for supervisors, as it steps up. And so we've been addressing those each year by allocating and investing some money in specifically into compression as we can. Our HR office has already started the process of working with the vice chancellor and dean and identifying what positions within their units are first off in greatest need and kind of moving forward. So that discussion's already began. Majority of the funds that's been allocated for the compression, we've been focusing on from market ranges from 6 through 11. A lot of times we've already been addressed though 1 to 5 market ranges, and so 6 through 11 market range is really the target approach here, but it's not. We're looking to address the most needed. But those conversations between the vice chancellors and deans have already begun.
My question is about the construction, of which there's much, obviously with the UC being down, we're all relying different locations at this point to put on programs and events. And I was aware that the Walford Center is going to start charging a good sum for their space that will start to affect our operational budgets. Could you give us a little bit of a heads up on how the construction is going? When do you see things on the ground? Any other expectations for increases to the cost for rentals that we should be aware of now as we're planning for this?
Great question. Yes, the UC renovation, of course, it's a particularly challenging project, I would say. Ultimately, it's been 3 phases, but there's probably 6 other sub phases going along with that. So there's lots of surge and moving needs to accomplish that. I can tell the project is on track, and the state still is at the same goal it was when we started the project. I want to say it's going to be fall of 2028, I believe. But I can get back to you if I'm wrong on that. Fall 27. Thank you, Chelsea. Fall 27. And just as I guess the UC, so you asked about the Walford Center charging. I apologize, I don't specifically know about those new charges. So I can look into that for you. I know it's important that oftentimes we've looked at other transferring of budget back and forth between different offices in the university, and we're just shifting the same pie around. Sometimes that's necessary and sometimes it's not. So there's deeper discussions that need to be had. And so specifically can't talk about the Walford charges, but I know that oftentimes there are greater needs and sometimes it's not so good. So be glad to explore that conversation a little bit further if needed.
I was going to share, I've been a student recruitment event. So apparently the policy has now been, the Walford Center is $750 for hours. And academically on campus departments are not excluded from that. So that's kind of what we're asking, because our is for campus students. So we
Just-
I have one nudge. Could you speak about the dual enrollment rate?
Yeah, absolutely. So in some of the broader enrollment recruitment strategies moving forward, dual enrollment is a big part of, kind of growing our enrollment numbers over the next couple of years. It began with University High, you've probably heard about on campus already, and then growing traditional dual enrollment students. About a year ago, there was a new bill that was introduced into law in which it stated that for dual enrollment students, the university should not assess fees greater than what the dual enrollment grant allows for the students. And so this past year, we adjusted and created a dual enrollment rate, which is essentially at $200 per hour. And so that will be offset by the dual enrollment grant that the student receives. There might be some other additional fees that doesn't cover for books or any other added curriculum fees that the students may need to be charged. But it's a big win for dual enrollment students across Tennessee, and we hope to be able to gain some traction and gain some market share of those students here in our area.
All right. Thank you, sir. So we pivoted earlier and we have already accomplished campus conversations. But I did want to take this moment to say that we have invited for our August meeting, our university ombuds to come and speak with us a little bit about the services available through the ombuds office. So when I mentioned that the Staff Senate is designed to address collective issues, the ombuds is designed to address more individual issues. So want to make sure that we let you all know that those services are available. So come back in August if you want to learn more. We have reached the point of our agenda where there would be standing committee reports. I mentioned already, we don't have committees other than the ERC. We will announce the election results soon. This will just be my chance to give a plug and say self-nominate for committees. Another word for self-nominate is volunteer. We're building a structure that will allow you to volunteer, and we will have that available to you on or before August 1st. We are building things as we go. I'm going to go ahead and I've got some slides that describe the different committees. I am going to give you a really quick run through of what those committees are. We have a nominations and elections committee. It makes sure people get nominated and then they get elected. If you like nominating and electing, this is your jam. Benefits and employee development. If you are interested in how we are developed as employees and what benefits are or are not available to us, here's your shot. University relations. I've already had one self-nomination for this committee, so don't get left out. Communication committee. I will personally say I'm excited that these committees exist and that we will be forming them. Once we have the nomination process or the volunteer process published, we'll collect those, and then I plan to announce who are on the committees when we meet in September. We're still developing our meeting schedule. As has already been discussed, space is precious on campus this fall. So we are trying to finalize when and where we can meet. that will accommodate what I hope will continue to be strong attendance at these meetings. So stay tuned. We will announce that as soon as we can. And the Employee Relations Committee is about to announce exciting new things. Now, we have arrived at a fun portion of our meeting, old business. How do we have old business? We are carrying forward a couple of items that were being considered by the previous structures, the ESC and the ERC. One of them, I'm just going to say some words about it, and there's no real action. But I wanted to let you all know that the ERC has been exploring the discrepancy between annual leave accrual for salaried employees and hourly employees. Right now, if you earn a monthly salary, you receive 2 annual leave days a month. And if you are an hourly employee, you receive 1 annual leave day until you've worked here for 20 years, at which point you have 2 annual leave days that you earn each month. That is a state requirement from Tennessee, and that is a large item to tackle. But what I have already begun is to submit a data request to find out, related to annual leave. Often the explanation for why the annual leave accrual is different relates to overtime pay eligibility. And so I have asked for information about how much overtime we are paying and how many people we are paying overtime to try to understand exactly what the situation is and have a data-informed approach for trying to address this gap. It's really all I have on that one. The other one may invoke some colleagues in finance and administration, and that relates to parking. We all pay for parking. Some of us are compensated more generously than others, and yet we all pay the same thing for parking. So discussion has been ongoing about ways to establish tiers of parking fees that relate to compensation rather than having the same flat fee for everyone who's employed at UTC. So those items are still under investigation. I'm going to ask Associate Vice Chancellor Sherbisman if he has anything he might want to contribute on the parking rate tiers.
Yeah, no, it's a great question and it's a great conversation. I think we kind of first started talking about a tier rate system a year ago at the last kind of budget town hall session. I can tell you that that is a strong conversation that we're still having. We're heavily looking into it. I don't want to say anything that's going to guarantee anything before official, but I can promise you we're heavily looking into it. You know, a lot of times we take different things into account when we're looking at parking, about how we manage and operate parking. We compare ourselves to other universities, but we also have to take in different geological factors, geographic factors. You know, being a metropolitan university, we then look at, okay, well, we can look at Knoxville. Well, we're not Knoxville either. And so, but we did compare and say, look, okay, Knoxville does actually have a tiered parking structure rate for faculty and staff. They've done a lot of other changes with parking in Knoxville as well. Mostly it's shifted to more of a satellite park and ride operation for Knoxville, and they give that option to faculty and staff as well. But if they're in the parking tier option, you know, we kind of look at, okay, what are their compensation tiers look like? And so their lowest tier minimum wage, I can't remember what level of income it goes up to. They're currently paying, I believe it's $31.50 per month is their rate. Currently, our rate is around $33.50. And so that just, we kind of look at that and take that into account. how does that compare to what we want to do? That kind of gives us more flexibility, and we can probably come in at a cheaper rate than what Knoxville is, and I think that's appropriate. I think Knoxville has a little bit higher living costs than what Chattanooga does now, not by much. But so I think that gives us a little bit right to a little bit of room there to adjust our rates. But in short, I just want to say we're heavily looking at it. And this would be a big change for us to do. If we move to a change like this, it would require board approval. So it's not something that we can just change in the middle of the year. We would have to have an official plan and proposal sent up to the board, typically in February or March, to then be approved in June, and then it'll start the next July after that. So that's kind of a long timeline there of what we could do at the soonest rate.
Thank you. That timeline is helpful to hear. Any questions about old business? Okay. Before we move on to new business specifically, I do want to say that we have requested a email account for Staff Senate. We're still waiting for that account to be created, but our hope is that we will distribute that account so that if you have concerns, you can contact staffsenate@utc.edu. Don't do it yet. It's not there. But when it's there, we will let you know. And if you have things that you would like for the Senate to address, that is where you will contact us. Our goal in having that address is so future executive committees can have access to what has been discussed and all of that history, rather than just living in individual inboxes that go away when people leave the Senate. But we've already had one person contact the executive team to ask for information about work flexibility during the academic year. If you've read your emails the last few Mays, you've seen that previous chancellors have invited us to have flexibility during the summer that is designed to give folks ways to work better and allow flexibility that may or may not be possible during the academic year. But there are folks who would like to have flexibility during the academic year, and that is a fair request. And so to speak to what is possible, I've asked Assistant Vice Chancellor Laurie Pugh, Director of HR, to come and share information with us about our telecommuting policy.
Thank you, Joel. Good morning. It's great to see everyone here. I'm happy to share resources that we have in place regarding telecommuting arrangements and possibilities that may exist throughout the academic year. And as you may know, we've had formal guidelines and documents available to assist in this decision making since I think roughly spring semester of 2021. They don't often get a lot of attention, so I do want to just kind of redirect people where those resources live. If you visit our Office of Human Resources homepage, you'll see under HR News a banner that says telecommuting guidelines. We've had that in place for quite some time, just to kind of put it out there. It's easy to locate banner. But we have a webpage dedicated to resources that provide telecommuting guidelines, which speak to all the factors that should be taken into consideration when considering remote work and the flexibility that that may bring. Those guidelines are intended to support both employees who may want to inquire about possibilities with their managers and managers in making those types of decisions. So we also have a decision-making guide that's available for employees and managers to guide them through that process. Ultimately, there is no sweeping decision regarding telecommuting arrangements. That always has to be on a case-by-case basis, really grounded in business needs of the unit and the role in which someone is performing, and the feasibility of whether or not that can be done remotely effectively at any point in time throughout the calendar year or academic year. but we certainly want to support managers in making those decisions. Each division manages consideration of telecommuting and remote work arrangements individually. We do encourage that all unit heads, any supervisor who's establishing such an arrangement is doing so in collaboration with their chain of administration, and that each division vice chancellor has visibility and transparency into what's taking place, so that we have comfort knowing that while we may be able to meet the flexibility needs and desires of our employees, we're also meeting the business need of our unit and the customer service expectations of those that we serve. So there's guidelines, and there's a decision-making document and an agreement form in place that help to create the transparency needed when considering feasibility. And the Office of Human Resources can't speak to what's feasible for any one position or a group of positions. That really is a collaborative process that we encourage employees and managers to undertake. So I know that, and as Joel mentioned, previous chancellors and vice chancellors have encouraged consideration of flexibility during the summer, realizing that that's not feasible or achievable for all areas of campus and all types of departments and the services they provide. And for managers to consider what other opportunities may exist for a change of pace, so to speak, for employees. And that can look like a lot of different things, including some time to come together from a collaborative perspective. So we certainly want that mentality to carry throughout the academic year in terms of attention to our teams and attention to those that are here every day doing important work, and consideration of what kind of flexibility may be achievable. We are certainly here to support that process. If there's any employees that want to talk further about flexibility, about remote work, any managers that would like support in making those types of decisions, the Office of Human Resources is here to help and here to support. So I did want to reiterate those resources and just encourage employees to have conversations with their supervision, but also take a moment to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Any questions?
Thank you.
We made it. We've arrived at announcements. Is there anyone who has an announcement for the good of the order?
Joe, I just want to take the opportunity, if Tyler and Irene will come see me after the meeting, we have a gift for you for being our first two questions asked, by the meeting. And, we'll send Mark one, the first online questions, and we will, definitely send him one. Also, when you leave here, there's refreshments outside. If you didn't get a chance to get some before, please visit it afterwards. Just grab you an old bar or a pastry and go.
Thank you all for coming. It is exciting to see a room with so many humans who believe that the work of staff is important. We will continue to do our best. We will meet across the hall in almost exactly a month, and we will announce future meetings once we have room locations identified for them. All right. We are adjourned.